Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. It is now 10:30. Actually, it's 10:31. This is Tanya, Executive Director with Literacy Network Northeast in Timmins. I'd like to thank you all for being with us this morning. And online with us, we have Gay Douglas. She is the co-executive director with Literacy Link Niagara, and she has also established 3 businesses of her own. So today's presentation is going to be facilitated by Gay, with me advancing the slides. If you guys have questions at any time, feel free to type them in the question box. We will keep track of them. If it's a question that needs to be answered right away, we will tend to it right away. If not, we will keep it for the end. There are going to be some interactive polls throughout the presentation, so keep an eye out for those. And there is also a handout, and it is in here. It's the marketing plan worksheet. I have put it into the GoToWebinar platform, so you should be able to download it. And at the end, there will be an evaluation that automatically pops up, so please take the time to answer the evaluation. So today's presentation is a combination of Gay's experience through nonprofit and professional experience. We thank Gay for taking the time to develop and deliver this presentation for us. And at this time, I will hand it over to Gay.
All righty. Well, good morning. Good morning, Ontario. We're not sure. I know there's a wide variety of people joining us from across the province, which is always exciting. Due to the wonders of technology, I am unable to see the slides that should be in front of me, and that is why Tanya is going to advance them for me. So Tanya, before we get started, I'm assuming we are at slide 1, marketing on a beer budget with champagne results.
That we sure.
We are. Okay,
Yes.
well then let's advance to the next slide, please.
And if anyone,
Alrighty.
if anyone else can't see the slides, please, please, please let us know.
Okay. Once again, excited about doing this webinar. We have to cover in the next hour and a few minutes a total of 43 slides, and that works out to about 70 seconds per slide. So please forgive me if some of these slides we move through fairly quickly and others take a little more time. It is my goal, however, to complete them all before the hour is up. Okay, so the next slide, please. Do you have marketing envy? I don't know about you folks, but I used to look at all these expensive flyers and posters and USBs and coffee mugs with brands and information from a variety of businesses on them. And I used to have marketing envy. Oh my gosh, how do these organizations afford to print all these beautiful, glossy, expensive products? Something has changed in the last 10, 15, 20 years, and that is that a lot of these materials now are more available, more accessible, and more affordable due to the wonders of technology and global competition for your dollars. So it's a new age. So this presentation is really going to focus on some cost-effective ways of marketing and truly sort of the basics of marketing, bring us back to our roots around marketing, and to understand that sometimes it's those basics in understanding what is the purpose of our marketing, who it is we are trying to influence in terms of our products and services, and being really clear around our brand and the action that we hope that our target audiences take. So next slide, please. Okay, well, if you're working in literacy and basic skills, you probably wear many hats. You were likely trained in one of these areas but you probably find yourself stretched beyond your comfort zone and into a number of realms you may not have been prepared for. Maybe you're the human resources manager, as well as the program coordinator, as well as the marketer, as well as the leader, as well as the administrator and the CAMS input person. And so we know that many LBS agencies are stretched to capacity. And as a result, our role often in a small LBS agency, whether it be a network, whether it be a support org, whether it be a program, is that we're often stretched among 1 to 3 to 5 people, and there is no one to delegate these tasks to. So we need to sort of self-educate ourselves in each of these areas to the extent that we can. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a quick poll. I'm just very interested in knowing from the audience today, how much formal post-secondary training have you had in marketing over the years? So please take a moment to answer these questions. One of these, have you had a workshop or two? A course as part of a college program? A course as part of a university program? A diploma from a college, or a degree from a university? And then once there are ample results, I will have Tanya announce what we've learned.
We're doing good. We're at 86% of the people online who have voted. So I will give it another 20 seconds.
Perfect.
20 seconds or 100%, whichever comes first. All right.
What have we learned?
And I am now closing the poll. And results are 45% have a workshop or two. There is 3% for a course in college, 18% a course in university, 3% a diploma or degree in marketing, 30% other, and someone says there should be an option for no training in marketing.
That's a good one. We didn't even consider that, but you're absolutely right. Many of us have had absolutely no experience, so these results don't surprise me. We're all over the place in terms of formal education. And like many of you, I have absolutely no formal training in marketing. And so I wanted to be clear right from the start of this presentation that I am no expert. I just am extremely experienced. 29 years in nonprofit on a very limited budget in a variety of different organizations outside of LBS and within LBS. As I said in the intro, 3 different businesses that I've begun over the last 10 to 15 years. I surround myself with brilliant marketing people, and that is really where I've learned most of any of the marketing tips, tricks, techniques that I'm sharing with you today. I am a lifelong student of marketing, and I wanted to make that absolutely clear right off the top. Okay, next slide, please. Here's what we're going to be covering today. We're going to do some basic marketing 101, talking about target markets, key messages, different kinds of marketing, the traditional LBS methods of marketing, and some of the more, the newer, more technology-rich ways to market. We're going to look at some really concrete examples of good branding versus not so good branding. We're going to look at some makeovers of brands. We're going to talk about the incredibly strong role that outcomes play in successful marketing, and then some final tips. Next slide, please. So this slide says it's not about how much money you spend, but it really, truly is about the time that we spend creating and building a brand, understanding our target market, and then specifically planning strategies. In this world of marketing, flashy, expensive marketing is absolutely no guarantee of achieving the results you are looking for. It's really about organizations being strategic, focused, and absolutely consistent in terms of their messaging and their branding. Next slide, please. Okay, some basics, marketing 101. Let's remind ourselves that marketing is about communicating. It's about saying, this is the value of the product, service, and brand that I'm offering you. It's about understanding who your target market is and then segmenting that target market into specific groups of people to understand what their needs and what their goals and hopes are so that we can help meet that through the work that we do. So I would ask you, you don't necessarily have to type this in, but please reflect. Who is your target market? The next slide is going to explain a few of the target markets that may be within your realm. Next slide, please. Target market. Here are some specific segments of a typical literacy and basic skills agency, pulled just from our experience. It could be other members of the Employment Ontario network. It could be community partners who may be referring to you. It could be government. You may be wanting to make a point to your local government or to inform and advise your local government representatives. You may be wanting to reach volunteers, to tutor, to be board members, to be office volunteers. And of course, we're always trying to reach our clients, potential learners, their family members, their friends, and others. I would like to ask folks, and do you typically use the same strategies and the same materials to reach all of our target markets? And should you? And I'm just going to give 20 seconds here for anyone who may want to respond to this. And if Tanya, you can let me know if anyone does respond to that. Do we typically use the same products and strategies to reach a variety of the segments of our target market? Any comments?
Yeah, so Joanne says no, she uses different strategies. Ashley says they have different strategies for different segments of their target market. Summer says they customize their materials to the audience in question, although the core message is the same.
Ah, perfect. That's a great segue, actually. Thank you to everyone who commented. And I'm going to also flag the fact that, of course, because this will be recorded, if you want to go back and capture all of the comments that are being made that we're not necessarily able to share in this time frame, we encourage you to do so. So absolutely, Summer, good comment about that. And let's face the facts that sometimes we need to use the same materials and the same messaging because of simply dollars. We may not have the finances, the funding to be able to create 7 or 8 or 15 different brochures. But let's flag that really important note from Summer around it really is about being consistent in your message and your brand.
And
okay, I'm going to move on.
Sorry. She added that typically she finds agencies don't always customize, though.
No, we tend not to. I think that our LBS agencies have tremendous skills in adult learning, and that often marketing is something that not every agency has the expertise or the technologies within their systems to be able to do. So that's all. I think that's a very typical comment. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Okay, moving on to types of marketing, and I'm going to make a careful point of this. These are typical, traditional ways that LBS markets itself, and non-traditional ways that LBS is beginning to market itself. But I think it's really important to note at this point that in the real world, in the world beyond LBS, in the business world for sure, and in many nonprofit organizations, the non-traditional, technology-rich strategies have now become the traditional, have now become the norm. And the more research you do on marketing, example, do a quick Google of 10 top hints for marketing. You will see that 80% of the tips that you will find online will be focused on social media and technology strategies. So while typically LBS has been marketed in a traditional way, I think one of the key learnings for me will be the more that we market in the non-traditional way, in the mainstream traditional now way, the more we're going to be reaching the target audiences that we hope to. Next slide, please. Okay, we have a quick question here for you. Just wondering what your agency typically uses. Do you use mostly traditional marketing methods? So the sort of paper-based flyers, posters, brochures? Or do you use mostly non-traditional marketing, such as Facebook, other social media methods, the ones from the previous page, or a mix of both, or are you not sure? So we're going to give you about 20 seconds for this too. We're not going to necessarily wait till all the answers in, but probably just once we know where people are falling in this question.
All right, so give it a couple more seconds. All right, so 6% say mostly traditional marketing methods, 6% say mostly non-traditional marketing method, and 87% say a mix of both, and 0% said not sure.
Excellent. That's good to hear that people are using a mix of both. And I think a lot has to do with what age, let's face it, for someone in my age, at my age, I was not exposed to a lot of technology growing up. One of the benefits of our co-ED model that we have at Literacy Link is I come with experience and years in the sector, and my co-ED, Ashley Hoth, comes with a very rich, younger perspective, as well as technology skills. I'm likely ever able to match. So I think that as we have younger people working in our agencies, and we take advantage of our clients and learners, many of whom are skilled at social media, the better our agencies will be able to reach the people we are looking for. Okay, that's very interesting. Thanks for participating. The next slide is the 4 Ps. We're still in marketing basics here.
Okay.
People about when you're creating your marketing mix, to think of the product that you are marketing, the price of that product, the places you may market, and the promotion that you will do to get the word out. And the next slide, please, Tanya, has a lot more information and detail about the 4 Ps. So I ask you to just reflect for a moment and think about if you were marketing a product, and the product being a 4 program in how to use a smartphone, as an LBS agency might, that it would be a very different approach in terms of talking about the price, where you might market for the place, and the promotion strategies than you would if you were marketing a tutor training opportunity. So that's just there for your purposes to think about the variety of ways we might describe price, promotion, place, and product. And I think an interesting note about price is sometimes there isn't a fee, and I'm thinking about LBS programming, but when we are asking a volunteer to give up some time, there actually is a price. We're asking that volunteer to give up their own time, the time that they might be spending with their family or friends or at work. And so often we are asking people to pay a price in time, resources, or involvement to be involved with our organizations. Next slide, please. So beyond the 4 Ps, there's also a couple more that are interesting and really brings us back to the idea of results and marketing the results and the outcomes of our programs. We want to know the pain or the problem that people are having and how our agencies and our services will help solve those problems. So when we understand the pain, the need, the problem that someone may be faced with, we can then market. Our strategic marketing will be focused on improving that pain, solving that problem for the potential client. So the more that we can describe the advantages and the benefits of joining us and understanding the needs of those folks we are attempting to attract and the results that they want to achieve, the stronger our marketing will be. And we're going to talk a lot more about this a little later when we talk about outcomes. But I want to move on to the next slide, which is brand. We hear a lot about branding, personal branding, corporate branding, organizational branding. So let's remind ourselves that a brand is a name, a term, a symbol, or a feature that distinguishes one seller's product from those of others. So what is it about your brand as an LBS agency that sets you apart from the others in your community or in your province? It's the promise that we make to people. When you work with us, we promise you this experience. When you work with us, we promise you these results. And that's a bold statement to make. And brands are used right across all sectors. Next slide, please. Brand promise. A brand promise is a value or experience that an organization's customers can expect to receive every single time they interact with them. Talk about bold. The more that an organization can deliver on that promise, the stronger the brand value in the minds of customers, employees, workers, volunteers. It is the emotional aftertaste. I'm going to repeat that. The emotional aftertaste that comes after an experience with your organization, because that taste lasts and people talk about that taste to others. I'm going to move on, please. Next slide. Name that brand. We're going to have some fun here. Let's start with the logo in the bottom right-hand side. Any guesses? Please type it into your either questions or comments. Tanya, do we have anyone?
Yeah, Ashley and Susie both said Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Sold. The one above it.
United Way.
You got it. How about to the left? I don't think there's many people don't know that one.
Starbucks. Good job, Sam.
Got it. Below?
Below, yeah. Nike.
To the left.
Audi.
You got it. Above that one?
NBC.
How about bottom left? The hands.
Ronald McDonald House.
You got it. Now, here's the one that might stymie a few people. How about the one on the top left?
Charmin. Charmin.
Oh,
Actually,
they got it.
Charmin poop.
Yeah, that's the Sherman Bear family. Absolutely. Well, so we know exactly when we look at each of these things, the promises and the experience that these brands stand for. Next slide, please. Know your brand. When people think of your organization, what 3 words come to mind? I'm not going to ask you to type this in. I'm going to ask you to do this with a variety of staff and learners today and over the next few days. Ask them to give you 3 words that describe the experience of being in your organization. By the way, ask your staff too, what's it like to work here? What are 3 words that describe that aftertaste that people leave with at the end of the day? And you better hope it's a sweet taste. We don't always hear what we're hoping to. There may be some tastes that aren't so pleasant, but prepare yourself for that. But the more that you understand that sensory experience that people are having with you, the stronger your brand will become. Next slide, please. So, what's your brand promise? Now, your brand promise needs to be the following things. It needs to be unique, compelling, memorable. It needs to be values-based and outcomes-based. And what I mean by that is based on the values of your organization that needs to be reflected in your brand. Based on results that you can promise or you can offer at the very least your stakeholders. It needs to be outcomes-based. It also needs to be consistent. I don't know how important, that's a very important message I wanted to underline, the importance of consistency. And you know how that is, folks. If somebody says we deliver quality services and just once they screw up, people never forget. So it's really important that the experience of working with your agency is a consistent experience that can be repeated and can be promised, regardless of the day of the week that it's offered or that people access your services. An example here is sometimes we say that we provide a flexible learning environment. So we better make sure when we say that we are actually living that flexibility by doing things like serving different learner styles, understanding different learner styles, providing flexible schedules and different options for learning. So it's really about us designing services around the brand that we would like to embed of our users. Next slide, please.
So
back to the outcome. Yes, go ahead.
Sarah Firo out of Moosonee added, for them it's education, northern experience, a lot of blended learning.
Beautiful. And then that absolutely sets the stage and becomes the brand promise. Thanks, that was helpful. So next slide about marketing is all about outcomes. And all of us focused on outcomes in the work that we do. We want to focus on the benefits or changes for the better because of the involvement with our services. It's about the end results that we hope to influence in the people that we serve. And it's what your target audience didn't have, but because of their interaction with you now have. And let's keep in mind, once again, sort of a reflection here on the basics of outcomes measurement, that there's the next slide, please, Tanya, the 3 levels of outcomes. It's what sorts of results can you promise your target audience in terms of new knowledge, shaping of new attitudes, opinions, and motivations. What promise can you make at the mid-level of outcomes measurement and outcomes delivery in terms of actions that change because of the involvement with your program? What behaviors, what practices, what skills can be built in that length of time? Or are we looking at making promises around the long term, conditions that might change for people? Things like make friends, things like improve your economic situation. Those are big promises to make. And we have to be very careful when we are making promises in our brand that we can actually deliver on them. But keeping in mind those 3 levels of outcomes and how our different segments of our target markets might be drawn to those outcomes because they relate to the outcomes that they want to achieve for themselves. So let's look at the next couple of slides. The next one are some possible outcomes that a community partner might have and how your LBS agency might help that community partner achieve those outcomes. So let's talk about some of the messaging that might go out to a community partner, act upon your marketing and respond to your marketing. You might tell them, if you work with us, you will find the services your client needs. You can help your clients succeed. You can locate new resources or improve the outcomes for your client. We can provide you with information to make your job easier. So in this example, we're really stretching to understand why on earth would a community partner call us or refer to us. Putting ourselves in that other person's shoes to understand what is their pain, what is their problem, what is their need. Next slide, please. I now have a screen. That's wonderful. I can now see the presentation in front of me, Tanya, just so you know. Okay, that's great. Possible outcomes for a volunteer might be not knowing every volunteer and not making any assumptions that all volunteers are motivated by the same desired outcomes. Your volunteers may be looking to learn new skills or become more aware about literacy. Maybe literacy is something that's always puzzled or interested them. It may be an opportunity to use the experience and knowledge you have, meet new people, make a difference, be part of a team. There could be many other desired outcomes from your volunteers' perspective. Next slide, please.
Before we continue, Summer says, for community partners, a key for us is looking at their measurables and deliverables and letting them know how the services we offer can help them meet their goals.
Brilliant. Yeah, what do we know about the data needs, the data collection and the targets of our community partners and how we can help them dot those I's, cross those T's. Excellent comment. Thank you. Okay, so let's look at the next slide, which is possible outcomes for a learner. And you folks are much more expert at this particular segment of your target market. I think that we do a really good job in LBS in terms of these messages around outcomes. Our programs can help you learn new skills, be better prepared, meet others, learn about yourself. Understand yourself is pretty much the same thing, I would guess. A little redundancy there. Be better prepared for work and life. Manage your money. Be more confident. The more that we can solve those problems for learners, the better we will be meeting the needs of our target market in that area. Okay, moving on. Quick poll. Another quick poll to understand where people are. Do you consider and use the market, the desired outcomes rather, of each segment of your target market in your marketing? Yes, we always do. Yes, to some extent. No, or not sure.
All right, just a few more seconds. All right, so everybody should see the results now, but 15% say yes always, 62% yes to some extent, and 24% are not sure.
Yeah. But the bulk of people do get to know their partners and help to solve those problems and that pain for them. That's really helpful. And let's not kid ourselves. This takes work, right? This takes research. If I really wanted to understand, for example, the SAMS system in Ontario Works and the kinds of data and information that is going to be a favorable result in SAMS, I'm going to have to do a considerable amount of research to pull that information. If I want to do that for a myriad of other community partners, where do I start? In fact, this sounds like kind of an interesting research project. Wouldn't it be great to look at the data collection and targets of a number of typical community partners that refer to LBS and identify where we might meet their pain and their needs? Or frankly, how about those agencies that are not referring to LBS? Maybe we can meet their needs and help provide solutions that will make them score better, look better, feel better about the services that they provide. Okay, let's move on. We are going to talk about key messages for a moment. We talked earlier about the importance of having, even if you have a 47-page annual report, really bringing it down and keeping it simple. Really, what we're saying throughout this report are three things. And once your brand has been solidified, I would be echoing those brand promises, those brand images and experience in your messaging. And maybe as an example, when speaking with learners, this could be of some agency somewhere, the three messages that it's put into every document or every message that goes out to those learners. There's the same consistent message. We care. This is not for kids. We know you're an adult. We're going to meet you where you are. We use these certain principles, and we really build on flexible schedule. We know you're busy. Okay, let's move on. We're going to look at some authentic examples of target market segmentation and how many of the same messages may be reflected, but with a very different look depending on the target market segment. I have a friend who has a personal shopping business, and she has figured out that in her target market of busy people and people who are unable to do their own shopping, that there really are three segments. Those who want her to do personal shopping for them, for gifts, and for personal shopping for their own purposes, things like clothing and accessories. She'll go out and find them the right look that they're looking for, and she's really a stylish person, so this appeals to her. Gifts, both corporate gifts and gifts for friends and family, and groceries for people who hate shopping, don't have time, or can't get out to the grocery store. So you can see excellent examples here of how she has taken the three segments and revised and targeted for advertising to reach them. Next slide. I also wanted to show you some outstanding brand and logo makeovers, I believe. Another friend, she has a home healthcare business called Rose Hill Lane, and she provides home care, quality home care to usually older adults or people with who have those needs. You can see this rebranding that took place, and I've got to give credit here to Buck Marketing, which is a company here in the Niagara region that has provided us with a great deal of assistance in terms of solidifying our brands. You can see the before and after here.
Okay, we have a question here.
Yep.
It says, even though it's targeted, wouldn't you say that this is bad for branding as they are so different? No consistency but the name. So that was it to the slide right before this one.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think about that. I think that if we took the time probably to look at each one, there still might be some consistent messaging about saving time and saving stress. And I think that is what might be consistent. But you're absolutely right, except for the name. And the Shop Uniter does have a consistent logo, and that their name is their logo. But good point. Maybe if you were doing your own materials, you'd want more of a consistency in terms of color. Really good point. Thanks. Okay, back to the slide. Rose Lane, you will see that the owner of Rose Hill Lane really wanted to boost her brand to be elegant, to be premium, to identify the differences. Can we go back to Rose Hill? To identify that this was the absolute pinnacle of home health care. And they really are different than a typical home care agency. And I won't go into those details, but they are definitely a notch above. And that was the image they wanted to create. Next page, please. This is a literacy-specific example from the Rideau Ottawa Valley Learning Network, which was formerly the OCCL, Ottawa Carleton Coalition for Literacy, which is the network, the regional literacy network in Ottawa region. They are now Rideau Ottawa Valley. That particular network had the logo that they had on the left, which had their acronym, but their words were not spelled out, so many people would not know what OCCL was. It also said serving programs, but not what kind of programs. Also, the idea of the person reading, they felt sort of held them back from the more, the richer, more extensive definition of what literacy or learning is about. So they undertook this revision, this rebranding, and I think you can see at a glance that there are people sitting around a table. That is what that brand represents. These are people planning together in a community. This also represents an organization that has had a very fresh start, not just with its branding, but with new geographical focus and new approaches to the way their board is operating and how their staff is thriving. And they also, to recognize that they were a fresh start, they wanted to use bright colors. So that's exactly how they rebranded.
Yes,
right? And
Joanne Katari says that it's much nicer now.
Yeah, it's kind of it inspires me when I look at it. It's fresh and lively, and it says this is a dynamic organization that is growing, and yeah, it's a good message. Once again, it's that aftertaste, right? I'm not sure what kind of an aftertaste you get with the first one, But the second one makes me want to ask a few questions. Okay, moving on. Let's take a look at, once again, sort of back to basics about the traditional marketing materials that LBS has been using. And frankly, this also connects with the non-traditional, the more social media, technology-focused strategies we may use. Let's not forget the who, what, where, when, why, and how. I don't know how many times I pick up a flyer or some information somewhere, and I'm still asking, well, when is it? Or where is it? Or what would get me there? What problem, what need are you going to help solve for me? That is often missing. So once again, focusing on the benefits that your program offers, the solutions, and the results. I also wanted to flag, let's avoid feature puke. That is not my comment. I mean, I didn't come up with that terminology. A marketing friend of mine uses it, and she says, take a look at materials that are often produced that all they say is, we offer, and then a long list of bullet points. We offer, we have, we do. That's what she calls feature puke, and it really doesn't connect with the needs of our target audience, the problems that our programs can solve or mitigate. So avoid that and check your materials for that. Long bullet points may not really resound with your target audience. Moving on. Okay, we always encourage people to use clear writing and design, a casual inviting tone, more like a conversation. Formal materials often don't connect with our target audience. Let's be consistent in terms of what the logo is, color, font. And hey, that reflects back on the Shop For You materials and the comment that someone made around them not looking consistent. You're right. Don't use acronyms unless you're explaining them as you are using them. Always spell check and proofread. Man, even if you're only printing up a few copies of something, you know what the message is when it goes out with a big typo on it. These people are going to help me improve my reading skills or my writing skills when they can't spell or they haven't bothered to proofread something. So that's extremely important. And it's always helpful to have someone else review your materials before you go to print.
And keep in mind, although you're using a Word doc or a Word program or something like that, you might be typing the wrong word, but it's spelt properly, so they won't pick up.
Good point.
Even if you're just putting the name of your organization on there, you might want to have that double check, because I've seen sometimes the organization misspelt because letters were inverted.
Absolutely. Good point. Thanks, Tanya. I've lost the screen again, so I'm going to hope that we're on examples, good, bad, and ugly. I'm going to show you some examples of two flyers, and then I'd like you to just look at those both. Think about what we've been talking about, meeting the needs of our target audience and being clear and answering the W's, and get your gut feeling with both of these documents. And if you want to go to the next slide, please, Tanya. We've given pretty good points to the Catapult Labs because it's pretty clear, provides a solution, and pictures really do add a lot. I don't know how often we're using pictures in our LBS materials, but let's face it, the work that you folks are doing in the field, the work that networks and support orgs are doing, is really about connecting people with other people and with the resources they may need. So I think the more that we put a face to this mysterious thing called literacy and basic skills, the better. The one on the right, yes, also pretty good. Really like the idea that this natural look is carried on throughout it and speaks to the audience.
Somebody says, volunteers, that font is too hard to read. It's not clear writing, and the Beaver one shares their passion, less professional but engaging.
Yep. Okay, going on to the next one. I'm looking at our time. I want to make sure we wrap up in time. Some more examples. We have 100 free donuts, and we have something else. Let's look at that for just 15 seconds if you would like to get a sense of it, how you at your end would rewrite this. And maybe the next slide then, good, bad, or ugly. Well, who wouldn't want 100 free donuts? But who is behind these 100 free donuts? What is the company? How on earth am I supposed to respond to this? I'd like those 100 free donuts, but I don't even know where to get them. So they're offering me the solution to my pain, which is I really need 100 free donuts, but they're not giving me any other instructions. They've forgotten the W's, they've forgotten the how. On the other side, wow, talk about too many fonts. Would you agree, folks? Really hard to look through that.
Yeah, so those were the comments. Bright, but what does it mean? Horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, really, really hard. Try and find the message in that and how you would like to, and what problem are they solving for you? I love a spa that talks about, are you stressed out? Come an hour of your day to decompress and see life differently. Sometimes we all need to spend that hour at the spa. I'm going to move on to the next slide because let's face it, one of our biggest impediments in terms of our, this is my own personal opinion, one of our biggest impediments are what the heck is this L word, the literacy word. We know that when we say literacy to a stranger, someone who's not involved in LBS or any other kind of adult learning, there's that deer in the headlights look. And then there's that, well, can't everybody read? Or what do you mean, literacy? Well, don't kids get literacy? So we find ourselves taking that great big breath and having to explain once again what we mean. So we're seeing more and more organizations using words like skills, adult ed, development, upgrading, come here for career preparation. And please notice, this is outcomes language, right? We're talking about developing things, upgrading, preparing people for the next step. Are there any other words that you use in your program besides this short list that you would like to share with the group?
Struggle instead of fail, adult learning. Training. Upskilling.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of that. Cool. Okay, keep adding to that list if they come out. I'm cognizant of the time. We're 12 minutes away and we're just about done.
Okay.
Anything else, Tanya?
Our tagline is reading, writing, math, computers for adults.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Oh, personal success.
Personal success. I like that. Because only we can define that success ourselves for personally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is your goal? How do you define success? We'll help you meet it. Once again, results and outcomes oriented. If you understand the outcomes of the segments of your target audience, you will connect. Okay, moving on. 10 top tips. If you would like to move forward and you're thinking, wow, this is sort of got me thinking about marketing. Maybe we should spend a little more time focusing on our marketing, and I'm ready to do it now. Or maybe this is going to be a priority for this coming fiscal year. Number one, develop a marketing plan. A template will be, as Tanya said, has been uploaded and will be emailed to you. I think it's a pretty good example of a document you can sit down and work with and through with staff and volunteers, if you have them, and with your students. Let's not leave them out. Their perspective is the most important. Strengthen your brand. What is your brand promise? What makes you unique? Now, this does take some work by asking people to go through, boil up all the maple syrup about all the messaging and all the things that you do, or boil up the maple sap rather. And by the time you've boiled it down to the syrup, you will have a good sense of what your sweet taste is at your agency that you can utilize to continue to market effectively. Use social media. My gosh, I know that I feel many times I'm missing the boat because I'm not an active social marketer. And those who do tell me about amazing results they are having. Let's face it, your students are on social media. Many of your students are, especially the younger ones. And so if we're not using it, we're missing a really important facet of your target market. Utilize your learners. Use them for focus groups, technology resources, and advice. They're in the best position to give you comments on how your marketing is either hitting its mark or not. Let's continue with the next slide. If you haven't already, create free listings so that when people search, they will find you. Number 6, network. I don't think our literacy practitioners, our literacy programs often have the resources to be able to do effective networking, or they feel, who wants to hear my story? People want to hear the stories of learners. They want to hear about adult education and the solutions that you offer and the amazing stories of learner success. So get a bunch of good business cards with your brand new brand on it and get out there and tell your stories. I was at a business networking event last week and was amazed to see around the table at least 2 nonprofit / adult education programs connecting directly with the business community on an equal level around how they offered solutions to that particular sector. Create and use eye-catching business cards, generate interest, and move beyond our silos and the typical way we might look at ourselves. Invest in staff training and resources. I know we're very fortunate, for example, at Literacy Link Niagara, that Ashley has great tech skills. We do all of our own marketing materials in-house. We purchase the right kinds of softwares and platforms to be able to make our materials consistent, energizing, and interesting. At least I'll give that credit to Ashley, not myself. I will continue on the next slide. 10 top tips. Number 9.
Hold on a second.
Use Vistaprint or, yep.
Storytelling is such a successful way of sharing your message without appearing to be selling something. It can be very captivating and help people see themselves in the solutions you offer.
Brilliant. Absolutely. Stories of our students, right? Jane came to us in this situation. She had these challenges, these needs. She is now here. And this is what she says. And for those of us, I know on our website are some learner stories. On the Tri-County Network website are stories of their learners. Those are powerful ways of saying this is how LBS touches people. And that's what moves people. So back on to using Vistaprint or Move. Vistaprint has tons of options, very reasonable, very quick turnaround. Or if you like something a little funkier and a little different, check out Move.com. Now, for those of you who want to purchase locally, I give you great credit for that. I try to do that as much as I can as well. But I found if you go in with the pricing that you can get at Move or Vistaprint to your local printer, they will often meet that if they truly want your business. And number 10, when all else fails, hire an expert. Or for some of us, let's just hire an expert up front. For one of my business entities, I just knew that I needed to use a gifted, objective source to begin to define a brand. For a charity or for a nonprofit organization or an LBS agency, sometimes there are additional dollars available through your community foundation, your United Way. Take a look. There's often capacity grants. That may be reframing your website or developing your brand further or doing marketing. You can also go to 99 Designs. And I don't know if anyone has experience with 99 Designs, but if you Google it, you can get 99 people to design a logo for you if you provide them with the information that you need, and it starts at about less than $300. There's also some copycat organizations like 48 hours logo design, like 49 designs, all with different pricing strategies, and that could put it out to people all over the world who may want to respond and win your business. Moving forward, I would suggest you start with your clear, consistent brand. What do you want your brand to be? What would you like to promise? So we are on the next slide. I'm not sure if you figured that out, Tanya, sorry. What does your brand represent to your target audiences? Does it match what you want your brand to be? Next page. Next slide, please. Moving forward, your marketing plan. All of these things are included in the template that I have, that we sent to Tanya, that has been uploaded. Help you work through this as a group, even if you added this to a staff meeting, 15 minutes over the next 6 staff meetings. I'm sure that you'll begin to boil down that sap and create maple syrup. Okay, we're at questions and answers with 4 minutes left. Are there any specific questions or suggestions or things you would like to share with the group, please?
Summer has a suggestion. Many post-secondary institutions are looking for co-op placements and experiential learning opportunities for their students in communications and marketing. It's a perfect marriage, as small projects for our nonprofit agencies can help those students succeed and help us take steps forward in our own marketing efforts.
Brilliant. Yes.
Joanne says, great job, Gay. Wow, learned a lot, Tanya. If you want to send out CLO's online marketing newsletter after the website, it covers branding, messages, slogans, and she gave me the link, so I could definitely do that.
That also might be in our resource list if I'm not mistaken. But thank you, Joanne.
Yeah. I'm just going to move to the next slide to have the resources up so people can see it.
Thank you.
Candice mentioned Fiverr, but I'm not sure if that's a website or if it's, I'm waiting on more information about that.
All righty.
Did you want
any other final?
Oh, Canva, Sarah. Canva is also a great website where you can use, they have pre-established pictures and stuff. So when it comes to copyright, if you're making your ad or whatever right in there, it's a great resource. Candice clarified that Fiverr is similar to 99 Designs. It's a freelance site.
Okay. Is it typed there so we can see the spelling?
Pardon?
Is it typed so we can see the spelling of Fiverr?
Fiverr is, so like the number 5, F-I-V-E with an R at the end.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And the other one is canva.com.
Yeah. I've seen the Canva results. They're great. We will all have our sort of favorite platforms and resources. I really like Haiku Deck, H-A-I-K-U-D-E-C-K. It is a subscription, but I find they have beautiful slides with copyright-free images. I've been really enjoying doing PowerPoints in that platform. Anything else anyone would like to add in our last minute?
Apparently Fiverr is double R at the end.
Thank you. If there's any additional questions or comments you'd like to make to me directly, you can send them to Tanya and she'll forward them to me. I'm glad to answer or support or just have a conversation. And I think I'll go on with the next slide, which are resources. These are resources that have been offered from a variety of places. Primarily, CLO is well featured here.
Another suggestion was unsplash.com. Has great free images, professional, high quality imaging, free for personal and commercial use.
Wow, great. Yeah, we should somehow, it would be nice to be able to continue this conversation with resource sharing, but I'm not quite sure how to do that, and I believe that in Tanya's capable hands.
I will definitely put all this together and send it out in an email with the slideshow presentation.
And if others have additional resources they would like to offer, that would be great, and we'll just keep the conversation going. So moving on past the resource page, and it is 11:30, is simply I would like to thank you all for joining us today and wish you good luck with your marketing efforts. The work you do is magic, and the more that people understand what LBS is and the promises that you make in terms of the services you provide, the stronger all of our efforts will be. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Getting a lot of thank yous and great jobs and wonderfuls and lots of information. So just a reminder, if you close out, you will get an evaluation. Please answer the evaluation. If you haven't downloaded the marketing plan worksheet, it will also go out in the email with the PowerPoint and some of the resources. So again, thank you very much, Gabe, for your time. And thank you everyone who was online and participated. Have a great day.